Yeah.
Awesome. I don't know if you had the first one required for her, but
No.
that'd be good to see side by side. All right, well, thank you very much for that. Actually, those were some inspiring words, and I enjoyed the speech. I think now it's time to call on our second speaker, who will speak for 5 to 7 minutes with an icebreaker speech. This is the first time here, so you're
I know. It won't be an icebreaker.
But, please help me welcome Mark Thompson.
Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters.
Good afternoon.
One more time, good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters.
Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure to be here today, and let's see, I guess the title of my talk today is Embrace the Journey, No Matter What. Embrace the journey. It's funny, I remember coming up to the lectern here in 1998. I was in a club down in Southern California. Can't even remember the name, but I remember I had a stack of papers with me for that first talk. And I wore a purple suit, by the way, so I just want to let you know I had that thing going on there. And fortunately, you know, it turned out well. Other than dropping the papers on the floor, the speech went very well. But my point is we must embrace the journey, no matter what. Recently, my wife and I decided to bring in her 98-year-old grandmother into our home for hospice care. This was about 4 months ago, so we're taking care of her 98-year-old grandmother. And she is just a blessing to have at home. I mean, you know, her health is not that great, but she's got good spirit. You know, she embraces life. And just in the 4 months that she's been there, it's just taught me a lot. She's had 12 kids. So I'm thinking to myself, if you can have 12 kids and still walk around and have your mind, you are doing great, you know. And again, just having her there has really just taught me something about just embracing this journey we call life. A few weeks ago, I did a talk about would you want to know? And I don't know if you remember that talk. I really didn't go into much of that talk. But the question is, would you want to know? And here about 3 years ago, you know, I get my normal physical, get all my blood work and everything done, and my doctor came to me and said, Mark, said, everything looks pretty good, except for this number right here. He says, you know, Mark, you know, it's going to be, how can I say, painful to get more information on that number. I'll just leave it there. And he says, he asked me this question, do you want to know what's going on? And for 2 years, I said, no, I'm okay. I'm good, Doc. I don't need to know. I'm good. I'm just going to go with this journey because, you know, I think we're here not only to move through this journey, but to share in what our experiences are. Because I think if we can share those experiences, we help others in this area. So finally, I did this year. In March, I said to my doctor, I'm going to go ahead and do the procedure so I can get more information on this situation. He said, great. So, you know, I'm waiting for the results to come back. And I think it was in March, early part of March, he calls me up and says, Mark, come on in my office, I'll let you know what's going on. Long story short, I'm going to make a very long story short. He says, Mark, I do have a little bad news. You have prostate cancer. And I thought to myself, okay, what do I do at this point? You know, he says, Mark, we have options, but this is what you got. And it made me kind of take life a little more serious. You know, I'm thinking about my family, I'm thinking about my wife, I'm thinking about my grandmother who's now living with me. And, you know, what is my next move? You know, what is that thing I do now? And like many of us, many times what we do is when we get that bad news, we want to kind of put ourselves in a box. We want to kind of, you know, just deal with it ourselves. But I've decided not to do that. I've decided to, as opposed to standing in my story, I want to stand on my story. This week I have a talk, next week I have a talk in front of 600 people. I'm going to talk about prostate cancer. And and that your PSA should be below 10, below 4 if you're a male, and women it affects you because we have men in our lives. So be sure, ask men in your life, hey, make sure your PSA is below 4. Mine was 7 for 2 years. Fortunately, I look at the good news that I have a great urologist, and I have many options because I caught it early. Some people don't catch it early. I'm in my early 50s, so fortunately I did catch it early. And I'm grateful for that. But the essence of what I want to say today is, again, embrace the journey, no matter what. We all face, it's easy to come up here when the sun is shining and you're in perfect health and everybody is laughing and, having fun. But what happens when that storm hits? Are we willing to be as old men? And I guess the reason I'm telling you this is not to be afraid of that rain, so to speak. Don't be afraid of that rain, because my story could help you. Your story could help me. And I honestly think that's why we're here, is to help one another. Because if we seclude ourselves, who does that help? Embrace the journey, no matter
Thank you, Mark. Not only for volunteering to speak, but for bringing such a personal subject as you do. And it's when you talk about yourself that you really shine. So, thank you. All right, well,